And we live. Yo, what's going on, everybody? On this best practices, my favorite times. Every couple of weeks we have these, and the questions keep coming, and it's really giving me a chance to investigate tonight. So we're gonna nerd out tonight, get into the science tonight, and definitely talk about our subject matter. I'm pretty excited to put this question to bed and to really get into understanding what we have, going on. I think it's super important, this subject matter. Hey, Lisa, what's going on? How you doing, champ? Good evening, good evening. This subject matter is really important to us understanding more and more about our bodies, about what we hear in the men's health and all these other places that really don't break down the science of what's going on. So tonight we're going to talk about, does cardio burn muscle? Does cardio burn muscle? And it's honestly one of, as a nutritionist, as a coach, and as a trainer, it's one of the questions that I get asked a lot. Like, a lot of people ask me that question. Hey, what's going on, John? What's going on, brother? I'm glad to catch you. And we're going to get into some discussion tonight, man. Glad you could have time to join us. It means a lot. So, does cardio burn muscle? So what do you guys think out there in Team Best Fit land? What do you think? Do you think cardio burns muscle? Put your answers in the comments below, before we get into the nitty gritty. Put your answer in the comments below. Do you think cardio burns muscle? Yes or no? So, this is one of those subject matters that we're going to talk about tonight that I get bugged about probably every couple of weeks. Hey, coach, you got me doing a lot of cardio. Hey, coach, I'm burning muscle. So let's talk about it tonight. So, okay, so the wife says that no, cardio doesn't burn muscle. What else do you guys think? We got quite a few people online tonight, so let me know what you think. So, John said, I hope not. We'll get into that. So, when performed correctly, and let's get into it, cardio can be an excellent way to improve your heart health and increase fat loss. We all know that. Rick says not at first, then probably after a while, and we'll get into some specifics of that. Tongue-tied specifics of that. So when done correctly, it has definitely some improvements, and definitely some things that for heart health that increases our lung function, increases our heart function. So cardio definitely has its place, and it's super important. Lisa says she don't think so. Drea said, no, I think fat burns and muscle builds. Okay, so we got some good answers out there. But however, when cardio is done improperly, it can negatively affect your gains. It just can. So the simple answer, so does cardio burn muscle? It depends. Let's get into it. And we'll get into the science tonight. So a 2012 meta-analysis. And so when you hear me use the word meta-analysis, because I like to explain so everybody is on the same page. All meta-analysis means is just a big word for a composite calculation of several different studies. So that's what meta-analysis means. So don't think that's some cool, huge, big word. All it means is just a compilation of studies, and it used the calculations from several different studies to prove a linear response. That's all that means. So it showed that improperly combining cardio and lifting impairs muscle growth by roughly 31% and strength gains by 18%. Now, from data like this, it would seem logical to stop cardio, right? Altogether, like stop it, to maximize muscle growth. But this is the complete wrong mindset to have. What's more important is how you integrate cardio into your training. Rather, if you integrate cardio into your training, take that out. Cardio needs to be in your training if you're a strength athlete, hands down. Cardio needs to be a staple in anything that you do as an athlete, hands down. So it's important how you integrate that cardio into your training and not if you integrate the cardio into your training, okay? So cardio does not, let's say this again, cardio does not burn muscle tissue as easily as many people believe it does. I mean, I've heard people like, oh, coach, I can't go running, I'm going to burn through muscle. I'm like, whoa, that's not how it works. As long as you're consuming an adequate amount of calories and protein, then you're going to be fine. However, there are 3 huge misconceptions out there that we'll get into tonight that you really should avoid as a strength athlete, as a bodybuilder, as a football player, as whatever that you're doing as far as cardio, if you want to incorporate strength, that you need to stay away from. Number 1 that I found in a compilation of different studies is people do cardio at the wrong time. One of the most common mistakes is doing cardio at the wrong time. For most people, the most convenient time to do cardio is when they're already in the gym for lifting for a workout. If you decide to do cardio during the same workout as you're lifting, be sure to do your cardio after your weights workout rather than before. I found about 4 different studies saying the same exact thing using that meta-analysis data saying be sure to do your cardio after your weight workout rather than before. Now, a 2016 study showed that participants who performed 20 minutes of cardio session prior to lifting weights experienced a significant decrease in their workout performance. And I'll say that again. A 2016 study showed that participants who performed a 20-minute cardio session prior to the lifting of the weights experienced a significant decrease in their workout performance. Now, participants were tested on 5 resistance exercises. They did upright rows, they did squat, they did bench press, they did deadlift, and they did push press, which is, military shoulder press with a barbell. Now, these exercises were performed 3 sets of 6 to 10 reps at 70 to 80% of the participants' 1 rep max. So the information that they found was all cardio protocols prior to resistance exercises resulted in an average of 9.1 to 18.6 fewer performed reps. The first 3 reps in those exercises were the most negatively affected in reps, in power, and measurements of velocity. And those first 3 exercises were upright rows, squats, and bench press. The first 3 resistance exercises really considerably came down, had a negative effect in reps and in power and in measurements of those velocities. So there's also several other studies, scientific studies that are out there that have confirmed similar results. Now, if you do your cardio before weights, then you'll be more fatigued during your lifting, scientifically proven. Your strength will most likely suffer as a result, and you won't make as much progress with your lifting over time. So it would make more sense to do your cardio before your weights if improving your cardio performance was your priority. If you're looking to more of, like I have triathletes, I have marathon runners on the team, and when we craft their training plans up, they're more concentrated on cardio, elevated VO2 maxes, longevity and turnover, a better heart rate. So, we look at doing those and making as improving your cardio performance as your priority, then move it to that realm. That makes sense. But if your cardio session you're planning on doing is a moderate to high intensity, and that means longer than 30 minutes, then it's best to perform your cardio and workout sessions separately. The studies and the meta-analysis data are definitely out on that, and it's been concluded. So I'll say that once again, if the cardio session you're planning on doing are of moderate to high intensity, and that's over 30 minutes, then it's best to perform your cardio and workout sessions separately if you are not looking to lessen your strength gain and possibly hurt your muscle gain at the same time. in a 2017 study published by the Journal of Sports Medicine, love them, read them religiously, researchers found that untrained lifters who perform 30 minutes of moderate intensity cycling sessions 24 hours after the bicep workout, as opposed to immediately after, had an almost twofold increase in muscle hypertrophy. So, the researchers concluded that it is most likely due to the systematic factors interfering with like muscle hypertrophy when cardio is performed directly after the workout, which induces muscle damage. Now, these results suggest that separating cardio and lifting workouts is likely more optimal for muscle growth. So how many hours should you usually wait after lifting weights? The research has confirmed that you should wait about 6 hours is a good idea to separate lifting and cardio sessions if you can. Now, this means that you could lift weights in the morning and do cardio at night. You also could decide to do cardio the following day instead. So, mistake number 2 that I found in the meta-analysis of several different studies is doing the wrong type of cardio. Most people think of cardio, they typically think of running. Contrary to popular belief, running may be one of the worst forms of cardio. What did I say? Contrary to popular belief, running may be one of the worst forms of cardio. And here's why. Running, as well as other high-impact forms of cardio, such as jump rope and sprints, all share significant eccentric components, right? These eccentric components cause a considerable amount of lower body muscle damage, which requires time to recovery time. If your body is trying to recover from high impact cardio workouts, then this will negatively impact your performance while lifting weights, particularly with leg workouts, for sure. So, what's the best type of cardio for lifters, strength athletes, that I have, football players, people like that in that performance? Lower impact forms of cardio tend to be the best type of cardio for strength athletes. Lower impact cardio doesn't require as much time to recover, right? And therefore, it won't hold you back from lifting at your best. This type of cardio will ensure you achieve your body goal compositions without sacrificing the performance in the weight room, and that's super important. Therefore, to minimize cardio interference with your gains, it's best to focus on the majority of your cardio on lower impact exercises which have a minimal eccentric component to them. So some good examples of lower impact cardio: you have your cycling, you have your elliptical, you have your incline walking. Now, performing high impact forms of cardio is not a bad thing. Please don't get that wrong. But you shouldn't avoid them if you enjoy them. And my little big bro said, I love my rower and the bike. Yeah, absolutely. And a rower is definitely one of those things that you can use that's very low impact as well. It's just as important to keep a close eye on how high impact forms of exercise affect your recovery. So here's the thing that I want people to tie together, especially tonight. Doing too much cardio can burn muscle. Doing too much cardio can burn your muscle. One common mistake people make is doing too much cardio. When someone wants to lose fat, what's the first thing they do? Oh, I got to get on this run. I got to get on this treadmill. They do more cardio. Cardio will help you burn more calories, but this does not mean that it is the most effective way to lose fat. Sorry to burst your bubble. Cardio will help you burn more calories, but this does not mean cardio is the best way for you to lose fat. It's a common misconception. You can lose fat and reach an extremely low body fat percentage without doing 1 day of cardio. Simple. You can do all the cardio you want, but if you're eating too many calories, you won't lose fat. It's that simple. More cardio is not necessarily better. I'll say that again. More cardio is not necessarily better. Cardio can help, but drastically increase the amount of things that you have going on as far as your percentages and your body fat and what things are going on. So you have to be super, super careful here when trying to understand and finding that balance in, the optimal amount of cardio. And we're going to get into that of what you're supposed to do. So, as we know, the common misconception is getting back to where you're trying to do too much cardio, and that may not necessarily be better. Your goal is to maintain and ideally build muscle while losing fat, right? Then keeping training as if you're trying to gain muscle. So think about this. Adding in some cardio can allow you to eat more, burn some extra calories, and potentially prevent hunger, but it shouldn't be what you rely on to lower your body fat percentage. That is not what you should rely on to lower your body fat percentage. Leave the majority of modifications, to hear me clearly, you can make in the dietary changes. The diet is what's going to get you lean. The diet is what's going to cause you to drop body fat. You know, those macronutrient breakdowns that you have for your body. And as a nutritionist, I tell people this all the time. It's not about necessarily being in a calorie deficit. It's how you're sitting in that calorie deficit. So what's the optimal amount of cardio? A meta-analysis of 21 studies confirmed that the more days per week you do cardio and the longer your cardio sessions are, the harder it will be to build muscle and strength. Consistency in the data showing that more frequent and longer cardio sessions decrease muscle hypertrophy and strength potential. According to this research, cardio sessions, which include 6 times per week over 20 to 30 minutes per session, are not recommended. They're not recommended. And I don't necessarily recommend doing that much cardio myself as a nutritionist and as a strength coach. How much cardio you do will highly depend on how your body responds to it. And I'll say that again. How much cardio you do will highly depend on how your body responds to it. In this review, and from what I've seen, gains were still made regardless of the introduction of cardio. This means that cardio may decrease your ability to build muscle, but if you're following a proper diet and a proper lifting program, then there's no harm in incorporating cardio into your routine. In fact, when cutting, I'll often see, recommendations, and me as a pro bodybuilder and as an elite power lifter, I'll exceed those recommendations that I have to do to, previously made because I'm trying to maximize fat loss while retaining my muscle mass. But however, if my main goal is to pack on muscle and strength, then just know that performing a bunch of additional cardio can interfere with that. So keep things simple. Does cardio burn muscle in moderation? No. So I'm hearing all these bodybuilders and the bro science, sitting here and saying, I can't do, that much cardio because I'll burn muscle. Moderation in cardio, and as a bodybuilder, you should be letting your diet do most of the work for you. Let me be clear. Your diet should be doing 80% of the work for you. Cardio is only a tool to be able to subsidize with your diet, but cardio should not be the end all, be all to how you're going to reduce body fat, because it's not going to work. Now, does cardio burn muscle if it's done excessively? Absolutely. There's studies to show and meta-analysis data to show it could decrease your potential in muscle mass. So you perform cardio after lifting weights, or ideally after a minimum of 6 hours after lifting weights. So if you have to do cardio, you got an hour and a half and you have to do that. If you are going for muscle dexterity, if you're going for muscle strength and muscle gain, you need to ensure you do your cardio after you work out. Stick to mostly low impact cardio such as cycling, the elliptical, incline walk to save your recovery time, and that's what we're more so looking at, and energy for lifting. Now, focus on weight training instead of cardio. Keep your cardio sessions, 4 times a week, 30-minute sessions. Don't usually go over 30-minute sessions, and that will help you pack on muscle size and strength. Now as you're dieting for a show, things change, especially in the form of how much cardio you're doing, because now you're going for a certain level of body fat, and a certain percentage that you have. So that's going to be completely different in protocol. But normally when you're in your off season, and please keep cardio in your off season. I hear people all the time, they, doing, cardio, and then they suddenly stop because they're in the off season. That makes no sense for your lungs. It makes no sense for your heart. It doesn't do anything for your body, and it actually sometimes may decrease muscle mass, especially when you've been doing HIIT training and all of a sudden you stop because you're technically in the off season. Off season does not mean that you are necessarily stripped away of doing cardio, because we know cardio is actually for your health. So focus on weight training instead of cardio, especially as a strength athlete, and understanding how cardio affects your gains is very, very important, and that's why we're having this conversation. So, but it's only one part of the equation. It is essential, I'm driving this point home, that you understand how to plan your workouts and diet correctly. When it comes to losing tissue, gaining tissue, or maintaining tissue, it comes down to calories. It comes down to calories. In order to lose tissue, you must be in a caloric deficit where you're expending more calories than we're taking in. And in order to gain tissue, you must be in a caloric surplus, taking in more calories than you expend. That's what it boils down to. So when it comes down to maintaining, your calories should be at what we would like to call a maintenance level in the nutrition world, and where your body weight, your body fat, and your muscle mass kind of stay stagnant and it stays the same. But how, can cardio affect this? Cardio is an aerobic exercise, right? We all know that. It's a great tool to use to burn calories. But due to this caloric expenditure, cardio is normally associated with the loss of body fat as well as muscle mass. But, here's the but, can you run and still maintain your hard-earned muscle? And this is the question that I hear more often than ever. Can you run and still maintain your hard-earned muscle? The simple answer, absolutely. As long as your calories are matched and the proper type of cardio is utilized. If you love running, and I've just recently, well, I say not recently, in the past 6 months or so, really gotten into trail running, and I do it only 3 times a week, usually between 3 to 5 miles. That's me. It's a form of cardio that keeps my heart healthy, and then those other times I'm doing high intensity interval training while I'm doing strength training. So if it's a part of your lifestyle, or you're using it to increase your cardiovascular health, like for me, then you need to make sure you're taking in enough calories to make up for the deficit created by that form of exercise. Too much cardio and not enough calories will lead to a loss of mass. It's just what's going to happen, both fat and muscle. So remember, when you lose muscle mass, your natural basal metabolic rate slows down, right? Slows down, which means you burn fewer calories per day. Now I'll say that one more time. That when you lose muscle mass, your natural basal metabolic rate, or your resting metabolic rate, slows down, and which means you will burn fewer calories per day. Running long distances and jogging will most likely chip away at the muscle if you go overboard, right? And the overall caloric intake is not matched. Just visualize, right, the body of a marathon runner, and that should speak for itself, because we know they're long, they have long muscle tissue, the way their stride, their turnover is, they're not huge guys. Not saying they don't have muscle, but their muscle dexterity is different. The way they're shaped, their quads are different, their long heads are different. So now if the cardio involves like running sprints, or was in the form of like high intensity interval training HIIT, where it consists of like explosive movements or even some form of resistance, this may help maintain or actually even increase muscle mass depending on your training age. This form of cardio would be the cardio I recommend if you want to maintain muscle mass and needed to do cardio. High intensity interval training is going to be the ticket. Sure, it's good to get up there and do steady state sometimes, but there's no reason a bodybuilder can't get out there and do run, for distances, do trail runs, do things like that. There's no reason they can't, maybe once or twice a week. But if you're a bodybuilder that needs to maintain that, or just a strength athlete that needs to maintain their dexterity and their strength in the muscle, then HIIT intervals, only 20 minutes or so, 30 minutes will gas you. It'll give you the elevated heart rate that you need, and you'll definitely, and I use that 2 to 3 times a week, and I'm gassed every workout because you're really able to get so much in 20 minutes. So the resistance training is going to be, a huge component of form of stress that causes the muscles to adapt by creating bigger and stronger muscles. We all know that, thus leaving you with more muscle mass. But, the mindfulness of the muscle mass and incorporating that into resistance training is going to be the key. Utilize HIIT. But if we're going to, in high intensity interval training, please make sure you utilize that, especially if you're trying to keep muscle. I know, getting on the rower, then, jogging or sprinting and then getting back on the rower. I mean, those HIIT interval training sessions for 20, 30 minutes are highly effective. And, when you're running long distances, you are going to, burn muscle if you're not taking in enough calories, or you're running to the extent of where you're depleting the muscle by overdoing with the amount of cardio that you have. So does cardio burn muscle? No, it does not burn muscle. It only does when you take 3 things into account. You not taking in enough calories, that's going to burn the muscle. You going overboard on the amount of cardio that you're doing, that will deplete your muscle. But like I said, it's the most important thing is how you're integrating that cardio into your training, especially, if you need to integrate it for, to lose weight, to lose body fat. But running, like I said, for example, and the eccentric movements behind it may not be the best form of cardio. So that steady state may not be the best form of cardio. That may not be the most effective. You staying on the Stairmaster with your heart rate at 125, 130 for 45 minutes may not be the best thing for your heart for a cardiovascular sense. So that really makes a lot. So I have a question here. Hey brother, since I'm trying to compete as a natural bodybuilders who HIIT seems to make it harder for me to recover. HIIT is always going to make it hard for you to recover. It's just going to have to be around more of your leg workout. You got to make sure that those are spaced apart, because you can actually grow muscle during HIIT training because of what you're using, your fast twitch muscles, especially how you're able to do your turnover, you're pushing off on your legs, you're doing a whole bunch of things. So those HIIT workouts and those leg workouts need to be spaced apart, because that hard time recover. Also remember, supplementation as a natural bodybuilder is important. So make sure that if you're taking branched chain amino acids, once a day, try taking them twice a day, because that's what your body is going to actually utilize as fuel when you're moving through a workout. So instead of burning that muscle, it's going to help you recover, because your body is using those branched chain amino acids as fuel, instead of it depleting more glycogen at the exoskeleton level or at the muscular level. And once you deplete that glycogen, you really get in that state of where you can start hurting that muscle if you haven't replenished it. So BCAAs help with that. No problem, brother. No problem. So to wrap everything up, we always want to keep it in that 30-minute time frame. And let's see how much I got. I got 1 minute to wrap everything up. So what we learned tonight, that cardio does not burn muscle. All my bodybuilders, that is no reason for you to get out there and not, run. You can definitely do low impact to, maintain your muscle mass. But for you to get out there once or twice a week to get some miles in, I haven't lost any muscle mass whatsoever. Legs are still, good size, upper body still great size. And I've incorporated that 2 to 3 times a week. And it also lowers, it helps your heart health. Now, if you're looking for cardio in the sense of interval training, we know that HIIT is going to be the ticket. It's going to keep you lean. It could actually build muscle. But, as long as you're taking in the right amount of calories, as long as your macronutrients are based correctly, then you're good. What did my bros say? Keep those HIIT workouts shorter into. Yep. And I use them all the time when training for the pro card. And you have your pro card, sir, IFBB certified. So we know that it works. We know putting that in work together on this squad makes it happen. And John says I needed to hear the 80-20 diet to card. Yep. Exactly. Let your diet be your ticket, brother, because at the end of the day, cardio is helping your heart. Remember, you're only doing it for 30 minutes a day, but you actually are eating all throughout the day. So let your cardio be a supplement to your diet, and your diet from moving forward will be the one to carry you through. That is a guaranteed every time. So you guys have been great tonight. Please keep the questions coming. If I wasn't able to get to something, please in the comments, please leave more questions for me. I will get to them and get back with you. Once again, on this team, we always bleed. Thank you so much for your continued support of this podcast. Best Practices is growing. You know, we're all over the place. So please, if you got any questions, we want to keep the information free, and we want to keep the information out there to make everybody better. Let's continue to bleed together. Finish Thursday and Friday strong, and salute. I'm proud of you guys, and continue to crush it. Peace.